welcome to the Bhakti Talk Podcast, where we discuss the spiritual path through the wisdom ways and practices of our beloved Guru, Swami Premodaya. We are your hosts, Swami Sky, and I am Ananda Dev. The Bhakti Talk Podcast is presented by the International Centers of Divine Awakening. Subscribe on our website, i-coda.org, YouTube, or any of the major podcasting sites. Be sure to also give us a follow on all social media at Bhakti Talk Podcast. In today's episode, yes, we talk with our guru by Aden Sletta. Aden is recognized and publicly acknowledged and officially designated by Guru Premodaya as his sole and singular legacy holder. Recognized as an advanced disciple, he is an advanced certified ICODA practitioner and ICODA's president and chairman of the board. Welcome to our beloved guru brother, Aden.
Hey, what an introduction. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I'm really thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we're very, very excited to have you. We love you so much. You've done so much for, I'll speak for both of us, personally, individually. You've also incredibly given so much to ICODA itself, and then your service to our beloved Guru, which is Guru Bhakti Yoga. Guru service directly has been absolutely astounding. So we're very, very lucky to have you. We're very pleased and excited to have a conversation with you today. I'm just going to adjust the images a little bit here so that I have the focus on you. Thank you so much. And I'd love to get right into it. I'd like to start, Aden, by knowing and hearing about, we know you very well. We spend lots of time with you, but it's so fun to hear another fellow disciple, a guru brother or Sangha member. It's so fun to hear their story. And I'd really like to start with where were you leading up to meeting Swami Premodaya? Kind of how did you even find him? I'm always it's such an excitement for a fellow disciple to hear about the moment where that arrangement or that intersection between your path and your journey and Guruji happened. So maybe you can start with that.
Yeah, thank you for that. And you're absolutely correct. Listening to this podcast, I've learned so much from both of you and the guests that you've had so far. Stories that I didn't even know about and their path to Swamiji, which has been so enjoyable. So thank you for asking. I would really start at my childhood.
Oh, great.
Yeah. This has been a long journey, long time coming to meet Swamiji. What I recall clearly, I really remember as a child, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And I have this memory, it's so clear. I was in my parents' backyard. I was laying on the grass and I was just looking up at the sky and it was a beautiful, beautiful day, bright blue sky, big fluffy clouds, just kind of slowly going by. And I remember what I was doing. I was looking to see if I could see God behind the cloud. If I could just see maybe his foot or just something. I grew up not really on a regular basis, but we were Lutheran. My grandparents were Lutheran. They were very much devoted to that. And so my family went on special occasions, which included myself. And so I sat through the services, and I guess you could say that was my introduction to God, or the concept of God or spirituality, which never really resonated with me, but God did. I really wanted to know God, and I believed that existed. And so I remember being in the backyard looking for him. And I would do it for probably hours would go by and just really enjoying it. Of course, I never saw him or it, but that feeling, that desire never left me of just wanting to know, is this real? And so it really started there, probably at a young age, of just desiring God and really wanting to know what this is all about. I even remember a time or two testing God. I would be in my parents' basement. It's kind of like our game room. All the neighborhood friends came over, and we'd play video games or just hang out and play board games. And so I was by myself, and I did all this, these things I kept to myself as far as God was concerned, right? So I remember there was this lamp in the corner, and I was testing God, and I would look at the lamp and it's on, and I would say, God, if you're real, I'm going to count to 3. And I would say, 1, if you're real, turn off this light. I wanted some demonstration. So I'd say 1, 2, 3. And when it got to 3, I was kind of like, I was scared. I was like frightened of what would happen. And of course the light didn't go off. But I just knew something was real. I knew something was beyond what I was as a child. So I do this test God all the time.
Well, immediately what jumped into my mind is the light didn't go off, but little did you know that later a light went on.
Absolutely. And that's where this was all leading. That the proofs did come, just in the form that I wasn't demanding of God, right? But they absolutely came. So it started off in childhood, and then that desire never left me. And of course, I go into my teens and my 20s, and I'm doing all those type of things of chasing women and sports. And I was very, very athletic. I did a lot of sports in my youth. I was involved in baseball and basketball and golf. And my parents were very busy. My mom became a kind of, not to her choosing, kind of a soccer mom, during that time.
Sure.
So that was kind of what I was into. I was into sports. I was into athletics, and I really liked the camaraderie of being on a team, and also the physicality and the of course there's the competition aspect. And so that was a large part of my life. But I also had this other part, which was very much introspective, and just wanting to, again, know what this was about. And I just couldn't get those answers. And it was really this insatiable hunger that I had. And then we can fast forward a little bit. I would say it's probably in my early 20s. And I saw a TV program. I was watching TV, cable access. I lived in Oregon at the time. And lo and behold, I had never heard of this person's name before, but a woman by the name of Gangaji is on cable access. And she's doing this thing called satsang. Again, I have no idea what this is.
Wow.
But talking to someone, and they're talking about spiritual matters and spiritual, absolutely. Spiritual.
I just pointed to here. I'll make sure that we can see it. That Gangaji's right here on my daily altar. So just right there.
So this is when the connections. I mean, it started from a bit before I was born. I'm sure the connection to my beloved Guru, but this is when the connection started as far as I guess you could say on the earthly plane of meeting Swamiji. So was meeting his teacher. And for those that don't know, Gangaji is one of Swamiji's masters, spiritual teachers. So
yeah, and just so we say this on the podcast and out loud, Gangaji does not formally initiate disciples. So she has completely avoided the guru-disciple relationship, especially with what she calls the guru police, because the guru police come after you and it creates a lot of trouble and a lot of headaches. But just to because I'm ICODA's historian and I just love to throw other aspects out there. Swami Premodaya has said the moment that he was in the same room as her, the moment she walked in, on a cellular level, he just is like explosions. And so he's identified Gangaji as one of his gurus. He says he has 2 gurus. Osho is his root master, and Gangaji is his finishing master. So he's just talked about Gangaji in that way. And then he's also talked about the moment of unspoken connection between guru disciple that he experienced with his beloved Master Gangaji. But just to be clear, because I didn't know this, but I didn't know that Gangaji didn't take disciples. And the first time I met her, I had to do prostrations at her feet, and her people were all like, ah. And she was very courteous and very kind, but she does not. She keeps all the guru disciple. That is not her method, her mode. She's absolutely a spiritual teacher, but she doesn't formally initiate disciples. Just so we have that differentiation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct. And so I'm listening to Gangaji work with this man or woman and multiple people, and it's like, wow, this is what she's saying is what I've been feeling and what I've been experiencing, but I didn't have the words to articulate it at the time. And I didn't even know it really existed. I didn't know it existed. And oh my gosh, it just felt like a relief, a freedom that what I've been feeling and experiencing and desiring is real, and other people are feeling it. Mm-hmm. And there's people who actually have an authority on it and understand it and can help you, along the way with this and understand it more deeply for yourself. So
was this your first exposure to somebody like Gangaji, who is a spiritual master? Because if you in the church system, you kind of I know you're describing the desire for God, the knowledge that God exists, that's out there, the feeling state. But the church is more of it's a dogmatic system, whereas somebody like a beloved Gangaji is a living embodiment, a manifest of the truth, who is literally, satsang is, for those who might not know that word, it basically means gathering in truth. So here's somebody, gathering in truth and a living emanation, which is an authority of the divine, authority of God, of truth, whatever your word fits for you, which is very, very different than the church environment. So this was your first experience of basically that emanation of the living embodiment of truth itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was clearly spontaneous, and it was clearly plugging into wisdom as opposed to scriptural. I'm gonna read something. It was clear that this is coming from a deeper source of wisdom, and it was fresh, and it was new, and it was spontaneous, and it rang true when I heard it. I just knew that it was the truth. And yes, that was my first experience, and it just opened up in me just relief. And then I was even more hungry, because now I knew it existed, and there's other people out in the world that understand this and that are available, and I need to get moving. I need to do something. So, and I knew, I was very drawn to her, but I also had a sense that she wasn't, not necessarily for me, but at least it told me that, that this is real. And so,
were you thinking of her in more as a spiritual teacher, or already the notion of guru was clear to you?
I didn't have the concept of guru at that time. I didn't even know. Of course, I'd heard the term, but I never crossed my mind, oh, this is a guru. It just, I just thought, oh, this is a very wise person, or someone who's plugged into something deeper. They've done maybe a lot of practice or meditation or something. She had something. There was a special quality there that I hadn't come across in other interactions with other human beings. And, but yeah, to answer your question, no, that I didn't have any idea that this might be a guru, or, something like that, or that she even had a guru. I didn't learn that until much later. So, yeah. So that happened. And then my curiosity just spiked, and I'm like, I got to find more people like this, and I got to find people that are interested in this. So that's kind of when I went on this search. And then the next real instance that really kind of solidified it for me, that I could say really brought me to Premodaya, was I was at our local library, and I was now looking for books or teachers who did what Gangaji did. How do I find them? I have no idea. Just go to the spirituality section, I guess, in the library and see if I can find an interesting name like Gangaji. I mean, I have no idea. So I'm going through, and then I see this audio book. It's like this 6 cassette tape series from Ram Dass, the name Ram Dass, which I've never heard before. And it's called Spiritual Awakening. And Swamiji talks about the story of him being drawn to the book, and he's in the bookstore and he sees Osho's face, right? And he's just immediately drawn. I had a similar experience to this, which was this audio tape. And so I look at it, I read it, sounds great, have no idea what to expect. So I check out the library. This is back when we had cassette tapes. And
yeah, it's so funny.
This is how long ago it is.
For those of you who might be listening, a cassette tape is a plastic.
and yeah, you get it from the library, so they're not always rewound. So you gotta. So anyway,
for those of you listening, a library is a building.
Right. This is actually when we went out in the world and we did things, talked to people.
Yes. This is prior to computers, prior to digital MP3 players, prior to podcasts.
So I immediately pop in the tape when I get out of the library, and I'm starting listening to Ram Dass. And my gosh, again, this is everything I've been wanting, hoping for, wishing was real, but not knowing. And he's just really speaking my language, and he just touched my heart. And I was just listening to those tapes over and over and over, these six series tapes. And so I got into Ram Dass a bit, but again, I felt he wasn't really accessible. I mean, I don't know where he was at the time, probably Hawaii, and wasn't someone I could just go and talk to. And so, and it gave me a better understanding, because certainly he's bringing the Eastern spirituality to the West, and he was able to bridge that beautifully. And that gave me understanding of what I was experiencing. What was my draw was toward these Eastern ideas and Eastern understanding of spirituality and life and God. And so,
and Swamiji's commented that Ram Dass's contribution, and obviously his beloved guru, Nareem Karoli Baba, he has said it very clearly in a way people can understand, is that there would be no Eckhart Tolle, there would be no spirituality in the West as it exists today without Ram Dass. And Ram Dass's contribution to spirituality around the globe cannot be measured. It's so huge. So Swamiji has said again and again, and also therefore crediting Bhagavan Das, because it's Bhagavan Das who brought Ram Dass to their guru. And so their contribution to spirituality globally is immeasurable. It's so huge. So I just want to Jai Ram Dass, Jai Babaji, Jai Bhagavan Das. I just want to take a moment and spread what I know would be our beloved Guru Swami Premodaya's love for them. So,
yeah, I mean, what a contribution! Incredible. I mean, his name is well known, and he's touched many people's lives. So, I'm completely indebted to him, and I was lucky enough to get to see him a few years before he passed at a retreat in I believe it was Maui. And so that was a whole nother experience, but yeah, what a gift to humanity. So Ram Dass enters my life, but I'm still searching. I realize now that I really need, what I'm searching for is someone I could speak to, to kind of give me feedback, understanding, someone who will respond to these questions that I have. And I also realized that whether I had the words for it or not, I really felt that I had gone as far as I could by myself. I've kind of read these things. I read the books, listened to the audio tapes, and I don't know. I know that transcendent exists. It must exist, but I don't know how to enter into it. I don't know where to go from here. Help. Is where I was at. Just please. I need help, So I won't get into all the details, but I moved to California. I moved to Southern California from Oregon and do some, find some work there. And I'm staying with a friend who I've known since, almost grade school, who also moved to Southern California. So we're living together, and I'm actively seeking communities, spiritual communities at this point. And so I come across Swami Premodaya online, again, not knowing who this man is or what he's up to. And
so that you found Swami Premodaya online. That was the first. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's holding a public event at a church in Westwood, which is in Los Angeles. And so I say, why not? It seems interesting. And
was that public event satsang? Is that how you found, because I'm always curious about that too, because, a lot of us don't have terminology. We don't know what guru is. We don't know what satsang means. And I too was also the word satsang. The first time I had come across that, that's one of the lines that led to so many inroads to spiritual life. So just checking to see if that's what that event was.
I'm almost certain it was satsang. Yep.
Okay, so that ties it together with
which is now a term that I'm familiar with. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, I'm at least I'm in the ballpark, right?
Got it.
So I go to the Westwood Church and very much looking forward to it. And
let me ask you one more thing. Before going to this event, which was probably satsang, did you also tie together Gangaji and Premodaya prior to going to the event, or was that after? Okay, I'm getting ahead of you then. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I go to this event, and I'm by myself, and I don't know anyone here, and I'm probably sitting in the back, just trying not to be seen, but I just want to experience it. Go ahead.
I seem to remember that you said you came from meetups.
I did.
Okay, so that's what ties this together. Mm-hmm. So you were part of so Meetups is an online app or program, or like a Facebook, only it's literally meetups, and it's about getting together. And you came across there's spiritual meetings, spiritual groups, and ICODA, International Centers of Divine Awakening, has a meetup group. And you discovered our meetup group, which had a Swami Premodaya event, which was likely satsang, and that was being held in Westwood. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, that's directly from meetup. So hey, social media.
Which is why we still have a meetups to this day, by the way.
Right.
We definitely still have a meetups for ICODA, International Centers of Divine Awakening. We still post all of our events there. And no small part of that is when you said to me, well, I came from meetups. And I was like, oh, well, then we'll keep that going.
Yeah, that was my argument for keeping it. It's like, hey, I came. Someone else could. So, but yeah, I went to the event, and I couldn't even tell you what was said, but I do know first few words out of the guru's mouth, who again, at that time I didn't know he was a guru, but out of his mouth, it's again, I had that same experience with Gangaji, that same experience with Ram Dass. It's just the truth was palpable, and it just hit me and I really had the experience of, I could be home right now. I feel like I might be at home.
Wow.
Because here's a man who, wouldn't matter who it was, a man or a woman, but here's someone in front of me in the flesh saying the things that I know are true. And my gosh, I can speak to them. They can help me. They can potentially help me. And I just wanted more. I just wanted more of this. And so, the satsang's maybe an hour and a half at the time. And And so I just kept showing up, and it wasn't until like the third or fourth time that I even approached Swami Premodaya afterward, and just got up the nerve to just say hi, just introduce myself. And but yeah, then these connections started to come out. I think he would probably publicly talk about Gangaji and his relationship to Gangaji. I'm like, oh my gosh, all these confirmations kept happening. And then I found out he is a devotee of Osho, and I have a interesting connection with Osho with my grandmother, who passed away a number of years ago, but we were going through her belongings, and she had a book by Osho, which were morning meditations, and we never had a conversation about Osho or her interest in spirituality, but I came across that book that she owned prior to meeting Swami Premodaya. So here's this name Osho also that I'm becoming familiar with. And then now I meet Swami Premodaya, and he's talking about Gangaji, and he's talking about I'm a devotee of Osho. And I'm like, what more confirmation do I need than this? So that's really,
I just have to interject because I only found out about this story in the last several weeks or months at the most.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I are involved with all aspects of ICODA. I'm the director of operations. You're the president and legacy holder. And so anything that goes on at ICODA, we work together on. And one of the things we're working on are books, Swami Premodaya books. And one of the things that you're really passionate about is a book of quotes. And I'm like, well, these other we have all these other. I think that's great. We should do that. Absolutely, Aden. Absolutely, I support you, but I'm not sure it has the priority. Let's focus on these other topics that I think will really should be our priority. And what I didn't know is how intimately important a book of quotes is for you, because of how much it's had an effect on your path. And you are so humble and so compassionate, and so that you never even told me, and I put it together on my own. In my version, I'm putting these together, that once I found out that book of daily, everyday quotes or everyday meditations, that the effect that had on you and on your personal spiritual journey, I'm like, that's the one we should do next. I just didn't know. But you're so selfless that you never expressed your desire for something that had such an impact on you to be available to other people through our beloved Guru. So once I found out that, I was like, let's make that our next book. So I'm so excited about the books that we have lined up. It's going to be a thrilling 2024. I just want to go, here we are. This is going out to the public. I highly support the book. If that's the next book, let's do it. I didn't know how deeply personal it was and how much it meant to you. I just was like, well, it seems like that topic's more pertinent, or that should be our focus. But now that I know that this book of daily readings, a daily quote or a morning meditation, to be able to offer that same sort of experience through our beloved Guru, because we have thousands and thousands of recordings with many, many thousands of incredible transformational quotes. So I just want to go on record that whenever you want to do that, you have my full support. I'm ready.
Yeah. And as you say that, quotes, there's people connect in different ways. Some people are more connect with video, visually, or audio, and of course written materials. But when you mention quotes, it is true, because Swami Premodaya, I also connected through his quotes. On his website that he had, and there was these wonderful quotes. When you go to the homepage, the landing page, there'd be these quotes that kind of fade in and out, and there were majority of them were from Swami Premodaya, and they were so good and they were so powerful and important to me that I would type them out, and then I would print them, and then I'd put them on like a board that I had in my room, just so I could look at them and refer to them. And because just these little nuggets of truisms, of truth, and it really affected me. So yeah, you're right. I guess part of my the way I connect with the teachings are through quotes. Absolutely.
And you can certainly find a incredible wealth of quotes on our webpage now, which you put together and you organized and you actually built and posted. So that's on our website now, i-coda.org. And the power of the guru is that one small phrase can contain the entire teaching. So I very much look forward to that quote book when we get that printed.
Oh yeah, I have a whole. It's all in my mind. I have an whole idea of how it'll look, and we'll see if we agree. But I think people get a lot out of it. I know I have, and it's almost like it just feels selfish to not do it. It's like to have all these wonderful quotes,
absolutely,
that you and I know about, and a few others know about, but to not make that available is
that's. Absolutely. And that's been our mission. Our mission has been, our guru had one very clear mission, and he has absolutely lived that. And had, I say that in past tense, has, it's current, it's always, it's right now, and it has been for the last 20 years to make himself available to people spiritually. And that's what he's done. And then what we've done is taken that availability, and whether it's, like you said, in video form and recordings and full length recordings and excerpts. So full length recordings on our wisdom library, our free wisdom library, which is crossing a milestone this week, by the way. We will cross 650 full length videos of Swami Premodaya, giving satsang, darshan, spiritual discourse, and so many, and guided meditations on Premodaya TV. So that's, it's fun. It's such a thrill as a disciple, and it's such a thrill, the three of us all together, and especially you, Aden, as legacy holder. We have truly made and continue to make the Guruji's mission available to people, and that is a thrill. So I very much look forward to that quote book.
Me too.
I kind of sidetracked you there for a little bit, but it's a fun side mission that I just enjoyed. But so you had met Swami Premodaya. You had for your whole, as long as you can remember, you felt the call, the interest, the search for the divine, for God, for truth. You're introduced to a whole different realm of satsang and gurus and, transmitters and relators of the truth itself, such as Gangaji and Ram Dass. And then you found yourself at satsang with Swami Premodaya, experiencing just sitting in satsang. And I would even say, as a disciple, looking back, sitting in the transmission of the guru and being in that. And then you said you finally, not in an event where you asked a question, but after an event you said hello or kind of checked in. And that's where we got a little sidetracked into a fun journey. I want to bring you back to where you were.
Sure. And that's a wonderful point too, the transmission, because it's not just the words. When you are in the presence, and it's same thing with Gangaji through the television, but when you are in the presence of satsang, which can be translated a number of ways, but essentially it means association with truth, right? Being in the presence of truth, coming together for the sole purpose of communicating truth. It's so palpable, and you just know that you are in sacred space. Like, this is something different. This is not the everyday, ordinary experience that we have. So I step into satsang with Swami Premodaya that he's holding space for, and same thing, immediate. You're in the presence of something more real, divine. Divine. It has. Yeah, go ahead.
That was the tagline we were using at the time. Was Swami Premodaya's was beyond self. Beyond. So it's like that's there's the everything you're saying, but then also it just has that essence of the beyond, because some people have trouble with different words, but beyond tends to be something that pretty much anybody can tap into. If your word is truth, if your word is reality, if your word is God, if your word is transmission, guru, divine, any of these things, all of that, the essence of all that is beyond, because it's beyond the, like you're saying, the experience of every day. As Guruji has often pointed out, it's very different than going to the grocery store and being in the checkout line. It's beyond all of those experiences, and it's something fresh, new, palpable, full of an energy you can't quite explain, other than the fact that this is different, and there's such a quality, and the main quality is this is more real than the other things.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond.
And what happened next? What happened?
So this must have been about, my guess is probably 2008. And I'd found something where I could come in person, and it was just phenomenal. Now, I still was involved in the world and still kind of had distractions, which was, again, sports, which was like a long theme in my life that I very much enjoyed. So I was still doing sports at that time. So I would come to satsang, but if it interfered with other things that I was doing, I'll go next time. So it was like, it wasn't as consistent as I could have made it, but it was just the choice I made at that time. And then I got to know Swami Premodaya a little bit more personally. We would speak, and I think really the turning point for me was the program that we still offer to this day. And ironically enough, it's the program that now myself and Swami Sky are leading, which is called the Beyond Self Training Program. And the Beyond Self Training Program is a 13-week, ICODA describes it, Swamiji describes it as a 13-week course in consciousness. And that course was so transformative. It felt like 10 years of spiritual work in, 3 13-week classes. So that was the turning point for me. It's like there was no more doubt. I knew that this is my path. I knew that this is the teacher for me. And any delay is I'm just hurting myself. I'm just postponing, what I know is to be true. And so that's when I really got serious. And I got serious with Swami Premodaya and wanted to know how he could help me. And mm-hmm.
That incredible program, the Beyond Self Training Program, consists of classroom time every single week. And the class is limited to a small amount of people. Mm-hmm. Each class has a handout that you study and you work on. And then you have a homework assignment on top of that works on top every week, on top of the next, on top of the next. So it's all congruent. It's all an absolutely powerful, incredible program. And then on top of that, you have one-to-one sessions to propel your growth even further. And anytime I've talked to somebody who's taken the Beyond Self Training Program, many people have said, this program really launched my spiritual life. It was kind of the doorway. It started, one way it's described as that was the first doorway into truly knowing myself. And what I like to ask people, and since you've brought it up, I'm going to take the time to ask you now, do you have a favorite aspect of that program? Knowing all it contains several aspects, and it's just a wild and powerful program. I just went through them all. But do you have a favorite aspect, or do you have a moment that stands out for you that's really like, oh, that moment was the whole thing you just said was great, but is there a moment or an aspect that are your favorites? And can you say a little about that, since it is a program we still offer and people mm-hmm. might be fascinated to hear about it?
Yeah. What I recall as my favorite part of that program was the anticipation of coming back the next week after having done the assignment, and just gushing, just wanting to share what my experience was that week, because so much had happened in a week. I mean, you would think a week is not a long time, but man, if you really apply what's in these handouts and you follow the instruction and you just do it every day for a week, the transformations were like that. And so I just couldn't wait until the next class to share what had happened, and also to hear what happened for other people, and just to see the progress and people just blooming in that class, from just these very simple, practical, suggestions, instructions, understandings. That was my favorite part, the group dynamic and the discussion with Swamiji with us. And also he would give you feedback and confirmation, which was really helpful to say, yeah, you're right, that this is true. This is happening for you. Or you may want to, look at that again or consider something else. Probably this is going on. And so that was tremendously valuable for me.
Yeah, the Beyond Self training program to me is like, it's like a rocket ship. And it's like you get it, you have a small group of fellow travelers, and then Guruji is the fuel. I mean, he just is, it just keeps the trajectory. Many people have reported that this is the absolute beginning and opening of their entire spiritual path, whether they continue at ICODA, whether they became a disciple of Swami Premodaya, or whether we never hear from him again. The reports on that program have been absolutely incredible. And Swami Premodaya has crafted an absolutely mind-blowing, consciousness-raising beyond self training program.
And the thoroughness and the depth of the program, wow, it's absolutely amazing. And it sounds like, Aden, that because with everything you described that happened for you also within that program, you found your home, you found your family, like the people you wanted to travel with, be with, you found your guru. Did you at that time, because discipleship was being offered, there were people who were disciples, how did you then come to, okay, I'm here, this is my family, this is clearly, I would say, like hearing you talk about it, my guru? How did you say, I want discipleship?
Sure. It's an interesting, I want to know the answer exactly to that question, but I want to rephrase it just a little bit, because in that time, discipleship was possible, but it isn't like now where it's on our website and you can read about it. During that period of time, there was no mention. The only way you would have known, so discipleship was not offered. What you're saying is not incorrect. It's discipleship is offered, but not as an offering. You would have had to have come across it through somebody reporting on it or somebody telling you about it. It was not publicly available. It was not part of it's part of the system. The guru disciple relationship is happening, but the offering of discipleship was not, somebody would have had to report on it or tell you about it. I remember, I'm telling you this because it's just a little quick story. I had done all transcriptions at the time. By the way, we first started recording on cassette tape, Ram Dass. And so I would record on cassette tape and I would listen to cassettes and I would transcribe them. And we had a wonderful person who was literary. I could transcribe the words, but I'm not a literary person. And so I gave a disciple meeting transcription to somebody I thought that would be very interested in discipleship. And that's how that person found out. So it wasn't. And then she was like, wait, discipleship is available? So I'd love to know exactly what Dananda Dev asked, but with how did you even find out discipleship was available?
Yeah, I'll answer that, but I want to go back to the Beyond Self training for a moment, because I can also answer that question that we had. What did I get out of that? The name itself, Beyond Self training, what I realized through that training was what I most desired, what I most was in my heart that I wanted, this beyond, this transcendent. Through that process of the Beyond Self training program, I realized I was the barrier, this idea of me, I, me, mine, and just loosening that up a little bit, which I had no concept of or awareness of, because I was just like all of us, we're trained in I, me, mine. We're the most important thing. We are the center of our universe. We're all that matters. And I started to understand the first, cracks started to happen in realization that maybe this isn't about me. Maybe there's something beyond. Maybe I'm a part of something that's that's more important, that it's not really about me and my wants and my desires, that there's a way that I can maybe step aside and let something else in or put my attention on. And so that was the end result for me of the Beyond Self training program. And that's why it was so powerful, just to dislodge, this kind of sense of me and mine and my way. And, that's all that matters. And so that was a transformation that happened for me. As far as discipleship, it must have just, like you said, it wasn't on the website. It wasn't advertised. I must have just spoke to enough people at that time who were involved with Swami Premodaya and saw their transformations and their closeness to the Guru, and probably just through conversation. Hey, how long you been with Swami Premodaya? Oh, I'm a disciple. And what is that? Oh, it's a formal initiation. It's just a recognition that, this is my teacher, this is my Guru, and we do a formal initiation. And then, so I sat with that. I knew about that. I believe I knew about discipleship probably a year or two before I asked.
Okay.
So, again, probably 2008, I met Swami Premodaya, and then it was 2011 that I was actually formally initiated. So I remember I waited when I applied for discipleship, and I waited for about 6 months for a response. And I'm like, oh, is he going to accept me? Maybe I'm not ready. I don't know what's going to happen. So I was so excited to get that acceptance letter, that he was happy to accept me as his disciple. And but yeah, certainly there was some hesitation there, and because it's a big leap. It's a big, for every disciple, even if you're confident in your spirituality, in your path, this is your Guru. Taking discipleship for everyone, and Swamiji explains this, it's always could be a little crisis, or something where we're not quite sure about. So, but man, it's from the moment I was initiated, I knew it was right, and it's been right ever since. So,
and part of that crisis is simply that, the beyond we're talking about is you're saying, I see the beyond, I recognize the beyond, and I'm the heart call. This is my response to the beyond is yes. So you're you're all of your structure that you've been programmed with up until now is kind of like, hang on a minute.
Yeah, it has absolutely nothing to do with the Guru or the person who's Guru. That's not where the crisis is about. The crisis is about, like you're explaining, the commitment. Oh boy, now I realize I'm going to commit my life to God.
I'm actually acknowledging this out loud and to other people. I mean, Premodaya has talked about his own crisis. He said he was a devotee from the moment that he the moment he saw Osho's face. And he's spoken himself about his years of trying to fight it. And then at initiation, just before he's to receive sannyas, about the crisis that he himself going through. So everybody goes through some aspect of that, no matter who you are, whether it's doubt or concern or whatever. But it's definitely like in this moment, I recognize this. Yeah, I see that. Oh man, satsang feels good, but it's very different to turn to it and say, okay, no, this is definitely it. Now I'm going to request initiation. And then once initiation gets, accepted, it's like that connection with the beyond is being initiated. It's like your mind, your conditioning, your structure, your ego, whatever, all the different are kind of like, hang on.
Yeah.
Whoa. What's this about? So
Right.
everybody has something, whether it comes in the form of thought and emotion or whatever. So it's definitely bound to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the initiation was kind of the beginning of the end. It was the new beginning, and of the true commitment to the spiritual. And it was everything. The crisis was, this is everything I wanted, And now it's here at my doorstep. And
now you have to be responsible for it.
Yeah.
Now you actually have to live it.
Exactly. So
You asked for it, and
I asked for it.
I've been looking for God my whole life, and it's like, okay, well, here's the doorway for you. Now, are you going to walk through it? Now, are you going to live it? And certainly, one of the things that we'll talk about in a little bit is how you have lived that call so emphatically, and how you've given your life to both of service to others, of service to the Guru's mission of ICODA, and to the Guru himself. So I can't wait to talk about that in a little bit. But I also want to know, so you receive initiation. Did you know at that time, was it part of the, because one thing about these podcasts that's so fun is I get to learn through other people's eyes. And I found out through talking to people, I shouldn't say it that way, because I was there at every initiation that's ever existed. I just never put two and two together is what I mean to say, that I'm the only one who actually received their spiritual name in their initiation. Everybody else has there's just like at the time, people didn't know you could, discipleship wasn't publicly available. People also didn't necessarily know that they could request a spiritual name. So did you know you could request a spiritual name at your initiation?
I actually did. First,
okay.
Yeah. I met I didn't know she was a disciple at the time, but I believe this first or second song that I came to, I sat next to someone who was in the audience, was a participant at satsang, introduced myself, and said hi. I was Michael at that time. Hi, I'm Michael. And they told me their name, and I said, oh, it's an interesting name. That's, what's its origin? She said, oh, well, I requested a name and I got that from Swami Premodaya. So this was like the second time I'm at satsang. So now
okay. You knew early. Yeah. Oh, well, that also could have been your introduction to discipleship. Because it could have been whether or not they mentioned it or not. If you got a spiritual name from Swami Premodaya, Premodaya doesn't have a policy of handing out spiritual names as part of hanging out. No. You request a spiritual name as a part of this formal initiation. So because it's an arduous process that he gives, everything to. So that could have been your first introduction to discipleship, but that was your first introduction to definitely that you can request a spiritual name.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. So where are we now? We're at
kind of, when did you receive so it's post initiation, and kind of what it's like to be a disciple, and then when did you request a spiritual name, or when did you receive it, and what does your spiritual name mean?
Yeah. So actually the same year, 2011, I was initiated May 2011. And that same year I requested a name. Because it was so clear to me that I was now heading Godward. I was on the Godward path. I had found everything that I was looking for, and I'm ready to commit myself to this life that I've always wanted. So I felt like the name was a clean break. And again, like you mentioned, Swami Sky, and I had known about the name giving. If you request a name, Swamiji would be happy to give you a name. And so the name he gave me was Aden. Is Aden, and I love the name. As soon as I heard it, it just felt right. It just seemed like. And by the way, that's happened for every single disciple in this Sangha that I know of that's requested and been given a name. As soon as I hear the name, it's so fitting. It's like, yes, that's them. Yes, that's Ananda Dev, and not even that they've grown into it. It's just immediately, it's like, that's who he is. And especially when you hear what the name means, what it represents for that individual, it's so pinpoint accurate. So that's exactly what happened to me. So Swamiji looks at me and he tells me, your name is Aden. This is your spiritual name. And he explains to me there's different origins, some Irish spelled a different way. And this particular name is the Arabic origin, Aden. And so he goes on to explain that Aden means the fierce one. And so I'm interested to hear more. What does this mean? The fierce one. So he says it's one who meets conflict with fierceness, one who persists, one who's willing to take on all of life's challenges, which sounded very daunting because this was, this name was so pinpoint accurate, because this is, up until that point, everything I've been avoiding. Absolutely. And at the same time, everything I wanted, that my soul desired, that I knew I had to. It's the change I needed to make in my life. And so with Guru eyes and wisdom, they see who you are, your true nature, what needs more development, and just your path in general, where are you going? And so Aden, the fierce one, the one who deals with conflict, that doesn't turn away. And so he said, you need to, from now on, you're Aden, and you need to live this. You need to live your name. And so it was such a blessing, because again, it was, and before I go there, I just want to say how easy it is to live a life the way I was living. We all have our things that we avoid or don't want to do, and how easy it is you can live a life and not meet the challenges of life that are required, that are going to grow you. And so I can see how I could have easily missed this opportunity to be Aden, to face what needed to be faced and deal with what needed to be dealt with. But because of the Guru's, I would say, this divine intervention, I was able to change these things in myself that I couldn't do on my own or wasn't willing. And so,
yeah. And for those who don't know you personally the way Ananda Dev and I do, if you had not, with the Guru's divine insight and help, and the light of the Guru itself shining on you're what I'm hearing you say is, I could see if I didn't live any of those things, then I would still live the life that was the opposite that I live now. Now in other words, Ananda Dev and I both would testify that you live as Aden. You carry part of your role as legacy holder, part of who you are, part of the challenge you meet every day is dealing with whatever needs to be dealt with, which includes fierce addressing of conflict or whatever is going on. I mean, you're the president of a corporation and you run an organization. You're the chairman of the board. You're also the legacy holder. All of those things require a level of responsibility. And what you're saying is that when you receive that name, you were living more quiet in the, like you described at satsang, kind of in the back of the room, not really, more of a passive life, more of completely conflict avoidant, to where you weren't living as your real self because you were avoiding that aspect of life so much. That's life avoidant. And that's something that many Westerners are programmed with. I mean, we're death phobic. That's a kind of culture that is life, that is not life affirming, I'll say. So I'm just saying what you said again, but sort of emphasizing the Aden that we know now. Nobody would have any sense or idea that the person you're describing that you were, Michael, prior to Aden, it's just two completely radically different people. It's like you're describing two different people. It's actually a little story I'd like to get into next, seeing if now's the right time, we'll see.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you described it beautifully. It's just like many people do, if it's their nature to kind of live more of a passive lifestyle. And Swamiji's, then all of a sudden the Guru comes crashing into your life, into my life, and says, no more, because that's not living life. For you personally, that's not your spiritual path. You need to do different, and it will grow you exponentially, but you need to do the work. And here's this name to help you do that, to live that So
Yeah, and I think that you're also saying you're kind of like, there's no way that I could be that. Like, that's a foreigner to me. Aden is like, even though that's what you feel, and that's what is a heart call, and that's what seems right. I'm not so sure that I can do what you're labeling me as.
oh yeah, I mean, I remember I watched my initiation not too long ago, and he's telling me my name, and he's describing what it means, and I'm nodding like I understand. He's like, don't be so confident. This is a tall.
So you got your name at your initiation, and I just forget that?
No, I'm sorry. After.
Okay, I just love the facts of it. So if there's someone else who got their name at initiation, I just want to know, because it's so thrilling for me to.
Yeah, I was using initiation as name, like a name.
Okay, gotcha. I gotcha.
Yeah. So.
Well, one of the things that the guru always does is work in devices, and devices are simply anything can be used at any time in a way that you can't possibly explain or understand. So, for example, a name here, that's a device. Here's a guru seeing, a guru knowing, a guru knowledge. And all he does is give you a name, tell you what it means, and it transforms your whole life. That's an example of a guru device. Other guru devices might be, a meditation at a certain time, or silence for 6 hours, whatever it is. Guru works in different devices. And actually, I have a really exciting story, but I'm going to leave a little cliffhanger, because I just remembered prior to the story I want to get to is I remember being in Malibu on the veranda when there was an ashram. Swami Premodaya, we had a Premodaya ashram for a brief time, and Premodaya, I lived there, and Premodaya was having a conversation with me, and he was talking to me about you. And he said to me, I told you the story, you know the story, certainly. He said to me as crystal clear as day that Aden can be of great help to me personally. He just said that. And, it just like giving you the name Aden and making the statement. I don't know what that means. I just know he said that. In hindsight, what I know he did is he was predicting you now today. He was giving you the name Aden, and he was commenting on what the future was going to be, which is the tremendous help you are to him personally. And I guess I'm sharing that now because it's the timeline. It's, you had initiation, you got your name, and then he's saying, hey, Aden can be of tremendous help to me personally. And then it wasn't until years after that was actually the case. And I was just commenting on guru devices because I really love something so simple and so transformative. Here's the guru predicting the future. Here's the guru giving you the name that you will become. And then, people think of things like, oh, you have to go to a cave at the highest mountain and meditate for 19 days, and you have to only eat this kind of berry. And, so people think guru devices are these wild, stand on your head for 6 hours, whatever thing. But the guru works with devices that you cannot even predict. And there is such a fun story shortly after you got your name. Actually, it might have been a couple of years after you got your name, where I title it the Magic Hat. And when I say I title it the Magic Hat story, it's because Swami Premodaya told you have a magic hat. And he said,
from Israel.
Okay. So this was a couple of years later that you got the magic hat from Israel. And will you tell us the story of the magic hat? Because it's such a beautiful example of a guru device that seems like nothing. It seems like just a casual throwaway, but I remember this period. I remember the magic of it. So can you tell us about the magic hat?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that was a wonderful tour, by the way. I mean, Israel was just phenomenal. But there was a group of us, maybe a dozen or so?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, we're on this international tour, this pilgrimage with Swamiji, which we've had a number of them, and we look to do more. And so, yeah, this is a number of years after my name Aden, and so I remember we were just kind of shopping around. We're going through the different markets and looking at all the trinkets and all the fun things that they have for sale, and the clothing and the scarves and all these things that we enjoy. And it must have been at some point Swamiji saw a hat, and I actually have the hat, and I'll show it to you right now. So he sees this hat, and it's on a rack, and he says, try this on, see how this looks. Okay. So I put it on, and I think it looks okay, but it's not something I would wear. I'd ever choose. And so he says, what do you think about if we got this hat for you and you wear it? And sure. I want to embrace this culture, and I want to, have fun. So why not? And so he said, he was very serious. And he said, after we got this hat, he says, this is your magic hat. This hat right here this is your magic hat. And you should wear it. You should wear it anytime you're out in public, and you should wear it for the rest of the time that we are in Israel. So I did. And of course, immediately I feel self-conscious, right? I got this very colorful look at me hat, through all the marketplaces and the restaurants and all the places that we went.
For somebody who does not like attention and does not like to be, would much prefer to just be an observer rather than have any attention on them.
Yeah. So, so again, we're in Israel, and this is not completely uncommon, these type of hats. So it's okay. And so I continue wearing it. And then we get back to the States, and the suggestion is to continue wearing it. Now I'm really like, why am I doing this? I don't know if I want to do this, but I also trust my guru 100%. And so I'm in the grocery store. I'm shopping. I got this hat on. I'm going to the dentist. I got this hat on. I remember I went on a date. And the woman was, the girl who I was with at the time. She's like, all right. And I explained where it's from, and she thought it was pretty cool. And so, so the result of that was, it did such a healing for me of being okay, of being seen, and being out there and not caring what people think. And that was the device. That was the guru device. And I didn't know it at the time. And in hindsight, there's been so many of these wonderful guru devices that are very simple, very practical. Just do this. Just do this differently. Just try this. And this hat really, it was magical. And he wasn't joking. The magic of the transformation, because this is something that I couldn't have figured out on my own, would have done willingly. And it was incredible. And
it's also the name Aden, because the conflict doesn't necessarily mean you walk around being, the savior of the world and, fighting in the corner. It's also conflict within yourself. It's also getting rid of anything that is anti-life, or it's confronting that in a way to where you're actually living forward. You're actually being yourself, knowing yourself. So that hat also puts you in the position of being Aden, that is the living of your name. So you're, somebody who doesn't like attention, but you can't maintain a passive, you can't do both. You can't live passively and live fully. So to be engaged in life the way that the name Aden would demand, and the way that you now live so beautifully, and that also supports all of us, that hat is also provoking that.
Yeah, absolutely. And on all fronts, it was just an all-out assault on my, so to speak, on my ways of kind of just wanting to hide and hang back. And so it was beautiful. It was such
It's
a
pretty hard to hide with a colorful magic hat on. Go
yeah,
ahead and nod to Beth.
and of course, you know, and we're talking about the States. Like, this is not
Right.
you know, this is not a typical hat. Go ahead.
But it's also interesting that Aden, the name, has different origins, but Swamiji specifically chose the Arabic version. It's also an Arab hat because we bought it on an Arab market, and also becoming challenges within yourself. It's also a big concept in Islam, basically, like your own personal fight with the challenges you have, like the concept of jihad.
It also challenges your entire programming, because all this idea of what people think and being, you know, well, is this an American thing to do? Does this, you know, it challenges all that. And all he said is, hey, why don't you wear this hat?
In one fell swoop, just all of it got taken care of. I mean,
this is also. Oh, go ahead.
Just exactly what you said. Just the idea of I'm American, and so therefore I should look this way, and so just all that got handled. It was wonderful.
And this is exactly at the time where there was a radical. Swami Premodaya has talked about it publicly, and I actually have something from our website that I'm going to read here in a moment. But there's a radical transformation that happened. So it started with the magic hat, and then Premodaya basically did this transmutation. It basically did this spiritual procedure, almost like a surgery, a metaphysical surgery. And I remember at the end of this saying that it was so radical, and everybody commented on it. It was as if your skin color had changed. It was so radical. I mean, it was so different. It was like all of a sudden you're no longer the person you were. It was radical, and it started with the magic hat. Yes. So that's part of the device. And I this is just my belief and enjoyment. So take it with a grain of salt. It's you and it's your journey. So, but I believe the magic hat is a key, because it's what opened a level of transformation that allowed another and even way more radical transformation to happen. So without being so ethereal, let me read this. This is from Swami Premodaya. Aden now provides seekers with an embodiment and a visible example of what the practice of Guru Bhakti Yoga actually looks like in real life, and how much can be accomplished on both worldly and metaphysical levels. He is the only disciple who has been capable of undergoing a complete spiritual transmutation, a painful process performed by Swami Premodaya in 2015, right after the magic hat. That part's not in there. I added that. So let me continue, which involves entering a person's body-mind system, internal self, and reconfiguring it over a 15-hour period. The result was readily apparent to Aden himself and to all who knew him. His presence had been powerfully enhanced. His abilities had been clearly elevated. In the years since, continued spiritual tutelage and diligent practice have visibly strengthened, solidified, and amplified his innate personal qualities of goodness, acceptance, gentleness, kindness, generosity, unconditional lovingness, even the gift of a calming and healing presence, such that his spiritual master declared him to be 49% human being, 51% celestial being.
What do you have to say?
How about that? So it was that magic hat period, and then this particular spiritual experience, spiritual transmutation, as Swamiji calls it, which was just so radical. And seeing you come out of that was like seeing Aden fully embodied. And I think we all comment regularly on the celestial being side of it, because your compassion, your kindness, your gentleness is so out of this world. It's so from the beyond. And that really came out of that. That
was the surprising part too. These qualities that I liked about myself actually were not only was I aiming toward what Swamiji said, to step out more and to take things, as they come head on, and not shirk from them, but also these kind of other qualities that you're mentioning that I did like about myself, those got enhanced as well through this process. I mean, that was the surprising part. It's like the whole thing just kind of unfolded and just got elevated to a whole new level.
There's a pardon my sidetrack, but just bear with me. There's a really crazy, I think one of the greatest pilots, a TV show that has a first episode that they present to a network to pick it up and buy it, is called a pilot. They make one episode and they don't fund, a whole 12 episodes or whatever. So it's called a pilot. So there's a TV pilot called Heat, Vision, and Jack, which was directed by Ben Stiller. And it was way ahead of its time. This is from 2000, actually, 1999, something like that. So Jack Black plays an astronaut that got too close to the sun in space. And he got so close that he became the smartest man on Earth. He's so just smart, but only in the daytime. So he's an idiot at night, but he's really bright and super smart during the day. And his heat vision is his talking motorcycle, which was Owen Wilson, who got merged with a motorcycle from a laser ray. So bear with me. What I'm saying is the experience of that is kind of like Jack. When as you came out of this, it's like your intelligence was just radically, you're smart before, but it was just like you're saying, everything was increased. It just was like you're so close to the sun that you're so bright, and you're brighter, you're glowing, you're compassionate. Everything had just increased.
Yeah, I mean, everything was shrouded in self-doubt or hesitation, which is going to dampen everything about yourself, so
the light is the guru, by the way.
The light
it was Aden got the light into the light of the guru, and that's what
absolutely. And I want to say too, to make it clear, the guru disciple relationship and these devices that we're calling them methods, yes, it's from the guru, but you have to say yes. And I said yes.
Yep.
So I did the work. I said yes, and just amazing things unfolded from there. So
yeah, at any point in that 15-hour period that is described as painful, and you could have shut all that down. That's what most of us do. Actually, Guruji talks about that many times, is you have to not, when you have an experience of the beyond, when you experience bliss, or when you see yourself, or when God comes, it's like that's not like a comfortable experience, and you have to not turn away from it. You have to, that's part of the diligence and the practice, and discipline there, as Guruji says, the same word with the letters a few different. Part of the discipline is not running when God, all these years you're knocking on God's door, and when God arrives, you to turn away from, the run from the overwhelm, oh my God, this is so big. That's the disciple's job, is to not turn from it. So like you're saying, to say yes, 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 Bhagwan, yes, is one of our favorite songs from the Osho community. So.
And that's also living up to your name, Aden. He is the only disciple who has been capable of undergoing a complete spiritual transmutation. So taking on the challenges.
And something else occurred to me as far as when I met Swamiji and why I knew he was my guru, my teacher. I didn't realize it until I thought about it. One of the criteria that I had was I wanted someone who had kind of seen the world and done it all. If they were going to be my teacher, my guru, they had to be worldly, they had to be successful. And that was important to me because it informed me that, they had been out in the world, they had gotten the success, and it still wasn't, the message was that that's not where it's at, that there's something more. And that was what Swamiji was for me and is. Here's a very, very worldly man, very successful, had a long career, and it has had many, many accomplishments. And here he is saying, but that's not what's important. I've done all that. And you can do all that too. But it's not what's important. And so that was really important for me to have a teacher who had that background, not someone who hadn't been out in the world and just was focused on spirituality alone. I mean, he's explained many times, I'm not an ivory tower guru. He's been through a lot, and he knows a lot, and he's, very intelligent and very educated. And I really trust that. I really trust someone in that position to assist me and to guide me. And so that was part of my decision making with Swamiji, was, even though I don't know if it was my decision or not, but
part of the recognition anyway. But certainly he's very commonly referred to as the practical guru. And part of that practical aspect is the fact that he's not an ivory tower guru, that he does have worldly experience, and he does understand the challenges in worldly life, rather than somebody who wouldn't have such direct experience. He's met it. There's nothing you can really shock him with or surprise him with. He's been through it. He understands it through his own direct experience, and then through his own extensive spiritual practice has addressed it and dealt with it. And that has a value that makes him truly the practical guru. I like what has also been said. He's the practical guru because of how effective he is. And part of his effectiveness is by, somebody who has had the experience that you or I have had, and is able to relate that so directly. I also want to talk about, I'd want to comment on Legacy-Holder. Now, in the last, let's say, what has it been? It's been a year at the most. You were identified, you and I both at the same time were identified as advanced disciples. And that is a recognition. It's not an achievement. It's not an appointment, is what I want to say. And it's not something that's appointed. It's a certain, this many, you do this many burpees, or you do this many yoga positions, or whatever it is, and therefore now you've met the criteria. It's not an education system. It's also not a system of a dogmatic religious system where you spend X amount of years doing this, and then it's a recognition. It's something that wasn't before and is now. And it's something that happens. Now there are 4 identified advanced disciples. Yourself and myself were identified as the first 2. That was a beautiful moment. And then not long after that recognition, something else had shown up at ICODA, which was Swami Premodaya acknowledged publicly. And again, not an appointment, but a recognition that you were the identified soul legacy holder. Again, that happened at the same time. You and I kind of have a mirrored path, which has been a true gift and an honor and a blessing for myself. Thank you, my beloved Guru brother. And you were acknowledged as legacy holder. And we can't end this podcast without at least talking about that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I was just as surprised as probably you were.
Shocking.
Holder. But yes, legacy holder, it's such a privilege. Swamiji has such a wealth of a body of work over the last couple of years, from videos to recordings,
to the handouts that you were mentioning from BST. I mean, it's I don't know if it's got to be close to 1,000 handouts that he's written easily, where he just puts blood, sweat, and tears into creating handouts on specific spiritual instruction, specific spiritual wisdom and knowledge, and he'll utilize for emphasis other teachers, other sources. He'll point his disciples, his students, or people who are attending, even as a lay person coming to a workshop. He's just created such an incredible body of work. Besides the 2,000 video recordings and audio recordings, those handouts are just incredible.
Yeah. So my joy and my privilege in this is preserving this legacy of Swami Premodaya's. Of course, he's still with us. He's
Yes.
alive and very well.
Yes. And I also want to point out Osho's comments on his deathbed, because there's a beautiful sanya story from Osho. And it says, yeah, we sat on the bed and Osho gave us his final words. Never speak of me in the past tense. He said, my presence here will be many times greater without the burden of my tortured body. Remind my people that they will feel me much more. They will know immediately. Mm-hmm. And I grabbed that quote because we've also heard Swami Premoda. So Osho is our beloved Guru's guru. And also some of us, we are also sannyas of Osho, Jai Jai Osho. And Guruji, Swami Premodaya, has said, some of you will feel me much, much more when I'm no longer in the body. All that being said, Guruji's right here, right now, alive, present. He is functioning. The Guru function is alive and embodied and active. And thank God for our beloved Guru. We're so pleased to have had the time we have had with him, even if it's been 20 years. And I hope that it's many, 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 many years more that he is embodied. Jai Jai Gurudev.
So to answer your question, the legacy is preserving, carrying on, disseminating, making available this body of work over the last 20 years. I mean, we have many more books to come.
Oh yeah.
Just so quote, like you said, quotes, books. So excited to make all this available for those who are seeking it. And so it's my joy, my honor to preserve this legacy and continue it. So
and you are the right person for
that. Yeah.
You are absolutely the right person for that. And I also have this from our website. Swami Premodaya has instructed that after his own death, Aden should permanently remain ICODA's president due to his demonstrated honesty, impeccable integrity, and obvious humility and dependability. Essential primary traits in anyone leading an organization solely dedicated to preserving and disseminating the legacy, including a voluminous body of work left behind of a genuine God-ordained Guru, a spiritual master who has proven metaphysical abilities to help and permanently transform and uplift others. And you are the absolute right person for that. I mean, look, your story today tells you of Guruji's transmission. You have been Guruji's right hand for many, many, many years, living in the transmission of Guruji, seeing for yourself firsthand, experiencing for you the miracles that happen, experiencing and witnessing others, the miracles that happen, and you embody and preserve Guruji's transmission itself through his work, but also as legacy holder. You've actually started facilitating and leading with others. And Guruji has said that legacy holder, you are part of Guru. Guru has become three. The Guru function has always been one up until 2023 when the Guru function became three. The Guru is still Guru, but legacy holder, you, Aden, are one leg or wing. I like wing because it's, it's fun to think of that way, of Guru. And so now the Guru function itself is supported and people actually get Guru through you. Obviously, Swami Premodaya, as we just said, is still the Guru, but they still get Guruji through you, Guruji's transmission through you. And one thing that I find very fascinating, the quote that I read earlier from our website, I'll point out because I love these things so much. I have to find here we go. It ends with, when I said amplified, it's talking about that transmutation, the spiritual transmutation that happened, and ends with in the paragraph, and amplified his innate personal qualities of goodness, acceptance, gentleness, kindness, generosity, unconditional lovingness, even the gift of a calming and healing presence. So the other fascinating thing that happened, advanced disciple, and then legacy holder, and then through Swami Premodaya, mudra healings started showing, what he called mudra healings, which is where, through guru eyes and guru witnessing, he would be able to place somebody in a spontaneous, spiritual, divine alignment position. And people were experiencing these incredible, miraculous healings. And then Guruji also noticed the effect that had on the guru function. So he said, hey, I'm not going to do these mudra healings, can't become part of the guru function. And this was at the same time that legacy holder and lineage holder were identified. And I remember messaging you during a meeting because Swami Premodaya was saying we can't do mudra healings anymore because of the impact. I now can see the effect. And I messaged Ananda Dev, I messaged Aden in a private message saying, I'm confident that mudra healings won't be gone. This isn't the last one. What I said was, I'm confident that this isn't the last we'll see of mudra healings. So,
and when I read that, I was just thinking, oh, well, Swamiji is going to do more healings in the future. It never occurred to me that I could spill over to the legacy holder, the lineage holder.
I did. I didn't say anything, but I was clear it was going to show up in another way. And shortly after that, spontaneously, your own inspiration, your own occurrence, healings arrived at ICODA. First, in that mode from Swami Premodaya, you could say that the guru has been doing forms of healing, but that's not. We mean specifically a healing modality, in that Guruji was offering a healing modality, and then he said, "Hey, this is not going to become a regular thing," and I'm saying, "Hey, it's going to show up in another way," and then all of a sudden, Aden has a very clear inspiration, you could call it, or a divine seeing, you could call it, now being part of guru, now being an aspect of guru function. And you now offer and have your own healings that people have received, and the reports have been phenomenal. People have expressed again and again the power of, like, wow, these healings, just a short time, just a short window of being with you, and a short window of experiencing your healing ability. And I just point out that, again, it was predicted by Swami Premodaya, because what I read you from the website was before healing showed up for you. Isn't that fascinating? I always am so amazed by that.
Yeah. And I can absolutely vouch for the effectiveness of it, because I had the honor of being one of Aden's, if I may say, guinea pigs. It's still unfolding, very effective, very pinpoint. It seems
precise.
Precise. Yeah.
To give you a little backstory, I don't remember the exact time frame when Swamiji stopped doing mudras. Because he said, I can see clearly now. I didn't know this at the time, but I can see clearly now that this is having an effect on my health. Basically, this is taking years off my life doing these mudras. Because the transmission is so powerful, and it took so much that he's like, I can't offer them anymore, and he did.
Yeah, the energetic exchange, and the guru often is taking on, as many historical traditions have said, that the guru takes on the karma of the disciple. But this was a more direct, physical, one-to-one, like energetic quality, that there was literally taking on the karma and burning. And he just, was experiencing it was having negative effects. And that's when he said, I can't continue to, this was after, I think, about 10 or 11 mudra healings, spontaneous healings that arrived, where these and each person that had one was radically transformed and just blown away by these mudras. So I just very instinctually, certainly as being lineage holder as well, and for being with Guruji for so long, I knew I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I knew there's no way that this healings would show up and then just, that was it. One quick little, so then you had your experience.
Right. So it was clear that this new kind of modality was wanting to be ushered in at ICODA, which was a healing aspect at ICODA. And so Swamiji announces, I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore. And so maybe it was a month later, weeks later.
It was a matter of weeks at the most. A month on the far, a couple of weeks at the most.
So what happened for me was I was just driving, doing some errands, and all of a sudden, while I'm driving, I get this. I see one of our beloved Sangha members, a female, in my mind, and I see she's sitting in this particular position with her, arms in a certain position, or leg in a certain position, and I'm doing a healing on her, and it just happens to matter like that, just like that. And I knew immediately what it meant, and I just thought, uh-oh. I knew it all. I knew that it's because Swamiji said he can't do healings anymore. I knew immediately what to do as far as my part in my offering of this new healing that's wanting to come in. And so it was completely spontaneous, unsought. I wasn't interested. I've never been interested in healing personally, myself, as far as a spiritual modality. I'm not saying it's not legitimate or helpful at all. It absolutely is. But just for me personally, that's never been part of my spiritual path. I've never sought out healers or anything like that. So it's never been on my mind. And all of a sudden, here it is. And I'm the one being asked to do this. And I was just taken aback. And I told Swamiji this, and he just said, trust it. It's real. And so I asked this disciple who I saw if they'd be willing to let me, do a brief healing. It was less than 10 minutes, and the effects were immediate. Like the moment we did the healing together, it started happening. Like just things started moving, and
profound. According to her report, is that they were profound. Things that have been, struggled with for years, insights into the movement of and the continued unfolding of. So that was, it's the reports that have been wildly positive, far, far beyond any, not that we have an expectation going into it, but that's part of the reason why it was so important to me to create the spiritual healing group now at ICODA, is because I wanted there to be a space to allow for this healing modality to be offered and unfold. And people have reported incredible experience already.
Yeah. So it's not, it's not my healing. And I know, Swami Sky, you have your own healing.
Well, that was the fast. I cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, the fascinating part is that you and I hadn't even spoken at this point.
No, not at all. So in that same week that you had what you just described go on, I didn't know that was going on. And at the same time, somebody in the Advanced Beyond Self training program was giving a report, and I knew that I could help them. And I had already done. Like for example, I had ordered some. For those people who don't know me, I enjoy Native culture. I have studied with Native elders. I very much am into the Mother Earth's medicine, like sage and the other plants that absolutely have a powerful effect on the body, mind, and spirit. I'm very much into classical Indian music, so I understand the effects of sound on the body. And so I've been working with these different modes as part of my enjoyment of the spiritual path for many, many years, but I had never looked at it as any sort of modality or offering. But I do know the effects that these different, energy workings have. It's part of how I make my own home sacred space. When somebody comes into my home, they often say, wow, it feels so amazing here. That's because I actively work to live in and create sacred space. It never occurred to me how that may help somebody else. But at this report in the Advanced Beyond Self training program, I literally knew I could help this person, and I waited. I didn't say anything, because I knew it was basically ceremony that I could do for this person that would be helpful. And I also have never looked at or now look at myself as a healer. In fact, I'm a little stubborn, and those who know me know me from the past. I sometimes have these attitudes that are very silly, and I kind of always looked at the word healer negatively, because to me it has too much arrogance in it. I'm a healer. A healer at best can create the environment where the body, the mind, or the spirit can heal itself. You're not doing any actual healing. So I've always kind of been like, healer. It's like at best you can create the environment where healing can happen, but that's not coming from you. That's part of the beyond, or part of the individual's own system and own makeup. So I've always been a little more than a little put off by the idea of healer, quote unquote healer. So I never have looked at myself that way, but it was clear that I could help this person. And it was the same week that you were experiencing. So I set up an evening where I went over to this person's house. It's a beloved Sangha member of ours. We love Jai Jai Sangha. And I basically did an energetic clearing, almost like an exorcism that evening, and creating of sacred space, blessing of sacred space, and transmitting my guru's my love for my guru, so Guru Bhakti, and transmitting Guru Bhakti, and helped encourage. And the reports were that it was profound and very helpful, and a lifelong or many year issue was resolved, or at least solved through enough to where it's not an issue anymore. So there's two modes of healing that arrived, and Swami Premodaya, I had mentioned all this to him because I want his blessing. I always want my guru's blessing whenever I'm honoring my guru, and he said to me, let me say it this way. So once you and I talked, and we knew that you had a mode of healing that had shown up that wasn't quite what Swami Premodaya had shown with mudra. It's not mudra healing. That's specific to Swami Premodaya, but you have your own divine alignment healing. And then I had this energetic sort of clearing and cleansing healing, which became very powerful and obvious, and as well as a transmission of my guru's energy, being lineage holder and living the presence of my guru in my own heart, and that loving that sense to people feel very relaxed and very calm. It's been very fun. I really wanted us to have a space to allow for that, and so that's where the spiritual healing group at ICODA came from. And we now have a place where we get to live and share that healing mode that has arrived at ICODA.
It's really fascinating to hear you both speak about this, because it's something that naturally popped up. Mm-hmm. And all the things that have been talked about today, also, Aden, your whole trip from where you started up until now, it has always been about, okay, yes. And that brings me back to actually Ram Dass. There's a YouTube video where Swamiji speaks about the one word, and I believe the word was also just yes, when Ram Dass's guru asks him for a car, and Ram Dass says yes. So it's all this growth, all this everything that happens naturally, all this growth just comes from this one yes. But the yes is that's a very active stance. Yes. That's why we also like to say yes, Bhagwan, yes. So thank you for your yes.
Yeah.
There's nothing passive in yes. And even Guruji's teaching, Swami Premodaya's teaching on saying no is saying yes to something else. If it's no to something else because that's a yes to yourself. So it's like yes to life is there's nothing passive about it at all. So it's very active. It's a very fierce stance. So what you're saying makes total sense.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, it seems saying those words yes seems so small, but it can, when it comes to guru disciple, it absolutely transforms you. And Swamiji says all the time, it's all about persistence, and it's about willingness. That's all you need.
Wonderful.
Beautiful. That seems like a great place to say thank you so much to our beloved Guru Bhai, Aden.
It's like we scripted it. Yeah.
yeah. It's like it just came all together. I would say that, Aden, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I know that I love to hear from you. I also love to hear how like your side and like Ananda Dev is sharing. It's like we get to actually experience our path together because we are traveling together, and we're so pleased to have you on here, and we're so blessed to have you as our legacy holder and your service to the Sangha, to us individually, and to our beloved Guru. We're indebted for and incredibly grateful. So thank you so much, brother, for coming on here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you both. My pleasure.
The Bhakti Talk podcast is presented by International Centers of Divine Awakening. Visit our website at i-coda.org and subscribe on YouTube or any of the major podcasting sites. You can also find us on all social media at Bhakti Talk Podcast.
And I've already said thank you to our beloved brother, but I also want to say thank you to beloved Gurudev and Sangha. Actually, this is for Aden. I wrote this here for you. You've given your life to the spiritual advancement of others, Aden, and you are a living example of loving and selfless service to the divine. Your angelic qualities, as the Guru made public, are truly visible. You shine bright, brother. We love you so much. Thank you to you who are listening. We give you gratitude and honor your spiritual path. And thank you to our beloved Sangha. What an incredible support to be on the same path together. And a most ecstatic thank you to our beloved Guru Swami Premodaya. Your wisdom, ways, and practices have been the transformational light on the path. Jai Jai Gurudev.
Jai Jai Swami Premodaya.